I thought I was in church.
Are you looking for another
No, the
agenda?
packet, so I guess I screwed.
Yeah, you know what, I have two. I
Oh,
printed
I'm in
my
rare
own.
form tonight.
Thanks a lot.
You are.
I'm going out with a bang.
I am calling to order the meeting of the Marshfield Conservation Commission for June 15th, 2022. May I have a second?
Second.
Joe,
All in favor?
Aye.
so, okay, all intending.
I have a few comments this evening. First, I just want to say that as volunteers appointed by the board, by the select board, we make a commitment to serving the town of Marshfield in a respectful and professional manner. Civil discourse is essential to maintaining the integrity and credibility of this commission as representatives of the town working to ensure the protection of our resource areas. When there is a public breakdown of civility and respectful behavior, it reflects poorly on everyone involved and ultimately on the town itself. In order to ensure that our boards and commissions will continue to attract talented and qualified applicants, such as those sitting at this table, it is imperative for us to communicate with civility to all and to engage in the practice of respecting one another. This will ensure that we are able to achieve our goal, which is protecting and preserving the wetland resources and conservation properties that make Marshfield a great place to live.
Amen.
And I would also, with deep regret, like to note that this will be Commissioner Carberry's last meeting on this commission. He has been a hugely valuable asset. He is knowledgeable, he is kind, he is funny, he is expert on dock building, and it is really a shame that he will not be able to continue with us. So thank you for all that you've done, Rick. It's a heavy lift.
You're welcome. Thank you for the kind words.
It is appreciated.
It's been a fun 2 to 3 years. It's a great team of people. It's just time for me to go.
Yes. Well, I will certainly miss you, as will we all. We're clapping for you. Yeah.
Here he is,
Come
Bill.
on, Bill.
You're clapping because I'm leaving.
Yeah, right.
Now we're in honor. Come back when you retire.
Yeah.
So just one last little thing on that. That was really very heartfelt and very good. I recruited Rick. He was, that was a great day when I met him and I started talking about this and you signed up and took on docs. That was such a great pleasure that you did that. And I've called you many times for advice and, you know, I could be a little strict and you found a way to put a little water on the fire and I appreciate that. And you've really taught me a lot and I've come a long way and evolved in the position. I think you're a big part of that.
Yeah, I no longer have to pull my car over when I see green waste now driving along.
Okay. On to business.
Thank you, Craig. That was
Well, thank you. Business item B1, we have a de minimis activity at 26 Olympia Road involving a deck on sonotubes.
I'll take this one.
Mike, you'll take it? Thank you.
Yep. So this is at 26 Olympia Road, and they want to construct a new deck on sonotubes. It's in a AO3 land subject to coastal storm flowage flood zone, and yeah, it seems to be a de minimis activity. We suggest the following special conditions: ensure best management practices and building codes are followed, obtain all subsequent permits, including Marshfield Zoning Board of Appeals and building permits, and seek conservation administrator or agent for guidance on conservation permits for work beyond the approved work activities.
Rick, Mike, we had a couple of people, just for the record, you might want to call that out, who already previously approved. That's our policy.
Yep. Bert O'Donnell and Susan Karen previously concurred that this was a de minimis activity on June 3rd. And Commissioner Carberry agreed on June 5th.
Thank you. Thank you for being thorough.
Okay, and yes,
No, that's
I
de
want
minimis.
to note that this,
Final
this needs a building permit. Any discussion
My only comment is when I approved this, I put in a note, I approved that the deck could be added to and deck could be construction. Construction details should be up to the building commissioner.
Yeah, that's covered, Bert, I think, in ensure best management practice and building codes
Yeah,
of
but we
quality.
go on to say in several places on sonotubes, if he doesn't want sonotubes, we don't require sonotubes, correct?
We don't have that in the special conditions, Bert. That's what they proposed.
Okay, well, it says vote to approve construction of deck on sonotubes.
Strike that
Strike that.
on sonotubes then.
Yeah, just
Okay.
understand my point?
I do see your point now.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bert. That's why I approved it as well, knowing that.
Okay. In that case, I move that we vote to approve the construction of a deck within land subject to coastal storm flowage as a de minimis activity with special conditions. May I have a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Item B2, 220 Carswell Street, tree cutting and pruning in a buffer zone. We have a house being threatened by some trees which are in fact on conservation land. So who can amplify on this for us?
I can do it or you can do it. I can take it, yeah.
Did you want to do it? You wrote it up.
Yeah, right, I wrote it up. Kyle Gavany, are you guys here? Okay, right here, is here just to talk about this a little bit. I've had interaction back and forth. You can see the pictures that were provided. We have a condition where, I could show the public if we want to do that, where the trees are so close to the house, they may be on conservation land, and bottom line is that they're causing damage. They've got squirrels up there. He could tell the story to you better than I can. And they've got holes coming in underneath the gutters. Windows are getting damaged, etc. I'm trying to get a picture up while we've got this going. But if you want to talk a little bit, Mr. Galvany, I'll get a picture to give you a backdrop here.
Yes, sir. Thank you, board, for having us tonight. So, the trees that we're talking about, I'm not positive if the trees are on conservation land or on my property. It's pretty much a borderline. That's why I talked to Mr. Grafton here. I contacted him to make sure. After doing some research, he wasn't really able to recognize if it was on conservation land or not as well. So all I'm asking for now is to get approval to cut back the branches that are so close to my roof and overhanging my roof. It is causing damage to my roof. I don't know if it's causing damage above my roof. I'm assuming it is because there's a lot of tree cover. So when it rains, there's not a lot of sunlight to get the dampness, the wet out of the roof. But underneath, we have branches so close to my bedroom window and the overhang of the roof where there's holes. There's probably 3 holes on the siding of the roof where squirrels are getting in through those branches and they're nesting in the overspace right below the roof. So with your permission, I would like to at least cut back the branches that are on the side of the roof and above the roof for now. I had Johnson, JLS, Johnson Landscaping Service come out, and he recommended to remove the trees instead. But after talking with Mr. Grafton, I guess that is a longer process. So for now, I would just like to remove the limbs that are damaging my roof for now.
So this goes to the tree policy thing again. I mean, how to get him in there? He would take the trees down. We probably have to get the tree warden in there. The town so far has told me that, they take the trees down themselves. There's got to be a way we can get an impasse like this handled, so I just wanted to bring this up. So if you look up here, this is the limit of work right along his house. and there's a wetland down in here. So, long story short, how to work with that? We can give them a permit, sure, and maybe take down some limbs, but the trees themselves, they're probably on Concom land, they get into all that. So, a tree policy would be really helpful if we could figure that out.
Well, I think the first thing we would really need to determine is, are the trees on your property or on
Correct.
the conservation property?
Right, and that's the impasse we're at right now, but if we had a policy, then the commission might be able to say, well, it's Concom land, we have the policy, we can have them cut the trees down. And they could just tag them, and Mike or I could go out there and make sure they weren't a problem.
Well, additionally, I think that Wildlands Trust has a CR on this property.
Ooh, okay, so,
Do you know that, Susan? Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so that's
Okay.
just another.
another layer, but the thing is this would get vetted out, and then we would go from there, and I hadn't thought about that on this property, you know?
The branches are hanging on his property.
Right, but I don't think we have to worry about that with Wildlands Trust. With that, what Craig was saying was, because there's a CR on the property, if you cut the trees and there was a policy, you'd work with whoever's holding it, be it Wildlands Trust, Mass Audubon, or, trustees of reservations.
Plus the squirrels are not being charged rent, to my knowledge.
Anyways, that's probably more than you need, but,
We have a better site plan somewhere that has a scale on it. I mean, we can't even tell how far the,
well, that one actually was the approved plan from order of conditions in the past that I took a snippet of. We have that. We actually don't have the trees because nobody surveyed the trees back then. We'd be starting fresh. I would put money that all of them are on Concom land, just barely, or 100%.
But the issue tonight is to cut some branches
Yeah,
to
but
take
this-
care of this
yeah.
problem, and it seems like that's what we ought to focus on.
But his comment to me when he comes in, and this is like any other person in town, was, I got a tree problem. I'd like to take the trees down if I can. Then I get into this same conversation. I said, well, you're probably gonna be limited to branches. If we had a tree policy, somewhat different might.
No, I think that's good, but I think the applicant just wants to cut some branches to take care of the immediate
For
problem.
now, sir, yes.
Right.
I understand maybe it won't happen with tree removal, and that's fine, but just to remove the branches that are affecting my roof and overhanging my roof.
Right.
I
I mean, I think the commission needs a delineation on, where the trees are. Are they on your land or are they on conservation land?
Yes, sir.
So, for the immediate thing, it seems like to get the branches off of there is the wisest thing to do until we can deal with the more.
Figure it out.
Could I also,
how far is it from the wetland line, Bill, just for the sake of?
Okay, well, let me go back to that. It's right there on page, your 100-foot was, I'm gonna guess it's on the 50. The trees are hitting about the 50. Looks like that's what is probably pretty accurate.
Okay, this is an older house, so they're clearly more than 25 from the wetland. So, should be absolutely fine to do the trimming on its
Yeah,
own property.
I don't have any debate on that. He'd like the trees if he could. A lot of people want the trees if they could. Art and I have been out to a couple properties and we bumped into the walls. I had people out on Main Street, same thing. It's been going on for years. They want the trees. And the thing is that in some other towns where I served as a commissioner, okay, you put the town at liability if you don't let them take the trees down. And usually here, we get the tree warden involved, and they either take them down or not, and then the tree warden's got the responsibility. That's a little bit of tough to get them out there, so I just hope we get a tree
If the
policy.
trees are on conservation land and the branches get trimmed, would the trust bear the cost of doing that work?
no, could I make a comment about that? No, the town should have to do that. The town owns the land, but it could be solved very quickly by pulling the CR. It should be on file in the conservation office to see what's allowed. Generally, any emergency tree removals, I've never seen that not allowed. It's
Okay.
in CRs, but, you could just read it quickly in a simple phone call to the
Keep
Wetlands
informed.
Trust would take care of
Well,
that.
it may save
And then they
this
would
young
have-
family, this nice young family with the squirrels,
Right, and-
some money,
Yeah,
if they don't have to pay a contractor to take the
Exactly.
so
branches.
this is a triple level. It's to Susan's point about CRs, to Concom's a permission, and then authorization, because you're in jurisdictional boundaries. And then the third thing is, so far, I've been told that on the property, okay, if the trees are on that, the town takes it down, or just says no and doesn't take it down.
This
That's
may
what's
be an unusual situation because the house seems like it was properly permitted and everything, and it's so close to the line. But I would not be in favor of a policy that the town has to pay for tree removals, because.
No, I'm saying that the homeowner, if they're willing to do it, would be allowed to do it. Right now, they're stuck, they can't, like, he would do it if he was allowed to. That's what I'm saying. Maybe I'm a little clear, so that's the ideal policy. Now, Bob might say something different, I don't really know, but, and we need to do something, because we get a lot of calls. I've been out with Art twice, you know, we were down on Cornhill coming up with a project, you get it, it's just, there's a lot of these.
Well, in this case, it seems obvious that those limbs need to be removed.
Right,
To Art's point, make a motion for that.
yeah.
Okay, so, yeah.
I have one question. Kyle,
Yes,
are
sir.
the trees leaning towards your house
They're
or
leaning,
just a branch?
yes, sir, no, the trees are leaning, thank you for mentioning that, 'cause I wanted to say that. The trees are leaning towards my house, and above the roof, they're over my roof, leaning towards, my roof. So for now, if I could at least just cut the limbs, that would be great. This past winter, we had a lot of wind, as you know. And I can tell you this, my wife and I we were scared that, you know, one of these trees was gonna come down over our roof. So for now, I would just like to cut the limbs, so it would stop damaging my roof. I am having a roofing company to repair the damages. But for now, if I could at least get that, that would be great. Because the trees, both trees they're leaning towards my roof, and they're currently hanging over my roof. So it's just,
Okay.
So it is a complicated situation where you've got the damage to the roof, the potential into the house,
yes.
and the town
Town
property,
property, which
conservation
may have,
restrictions.
maybe their trees.
Yeah,
This gives you an idea, he's just looking for relief, but if you see this tree, it's growing inward, and that usually is a tree that's gonna is when it falls, it's gonna go that direction. It tells you what it's doing, it doesn't lie. So, it might snap, but it might also fall that way. Either way, it's gonna go towards his house, which is over here towards where the mouse is right now, you know?
It seems like we should approve these trimming,
For sure,
and then
yes.
get back to us as soon as possible, when we get the definitive answer here on.
Well, that takes the commission's doing a policy, otherwise he's gonna have to get the DPW to get in there, we're gonna have to check with the CR holder,
Well,
and then the commission's gonna have to
We
give
need
it
to just
further.
check the CR.
Yeah.
Well,
that's
it's three
very-
things, it's that,
That's not that hard, you just pull it and read it, it'll be,
Right.
allowed activities, and generally that's pretty
We need
easy.
a tree policy, but right now we don't have a
Yeah,
tree
you-
policy.
This
We
is
never
why-
have had a tree policy, so we need to move forward.
yeah, I'm not fighting or
And-
arguing.
yeah.
I'm having both things going. He'll get relief from the branches, but 6 years or 5 years from now, the trees are a big issue. And that's happening all over town. And some will have CRs, some won't,
Get our tree
some will be
policy.
town-owned, some won't, et cetera, you know?
Okay, so
I would go with number one, approve the limbing of the
I
trees.
move that we vote to approve the limbing of the trees as a de minimis activity.
Second.
Or,
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
okay,
Okay,
so you,
So go ahead and, trim whatever's overhanging you.
Okay,
yeah, just use best practices, okay?
yes, sir.
Okay, right.
All right, thank you very much, board.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Have a good night.
You too.
Special conditions on that, right?
Okay. Scheduled continuations, 274 Foster Avenue, SE 422958. The applicant's representative requested a continuation to the August 17th meeting in writing on April 26th. I move that we vote to continue this to August 17th. May I have a second?
second.
All in favor? Aye. 76 Carolyn Circle, SE 422950. I move that we vote to continue this to July 20th, 2022, as per the written request of the applicant's representative on June 1st. May I have a second?
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And 2205 Main Street, SE 42 2977. I move that we vote to continue to July 20th, 2022, public meeting as per the written request of the applicant's representative on June 9th. May I have a second?
Second.
Art,
All in favor? Aye.
who had the 76 one? 76 Carolyn?
I heard Rick and I heard Susan, I think.
All right, so we'll give it to Rick, he's leaving. So. All right.
Okay, we are on to public hearings. The first being a new hearing. Let me get the legal ad. Okay, in compliance with the regulations of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and Code of the Town of Marshfield, Chapter 294, Wetlands Protection, a public hearing will be held by the Marshfield Conservation Commission on Wednesday, June 15th, 2022, to consider the request for determination of applicability filed by Jeff Nelson of 6 Frisbee Road. And the hearing officer is Commissioner Carberry.
All right, hang on a second here. All right. I'm not sure he's here. I think I gave him a heads up to get here. Okay.
So this is a new RDA for the Nelson family on Frisbee Road. Administrative things been taken care of?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Is anybody here in the room or on the Zoom call to present the project, or should I do that?
Is Nelson, you out there? I don't think I sent him an Evite, so that was on me.
Okay.
You know, out in these RDAs, a lot of times they don't really have to come to the
Yeah.
attendance. We gotta be a little better at that in our office.
Well, I went to have a quick check yesterday, but I ended up staying about an hour, and I heard about Mr. Nelson's career and all the things he's done to the house, and sometimes people just want somebody to talk to, and that's what commissioners do, so. Anyway, so here's what the project is. It's, they've got a current 8 by 12 foot shed that's in the lower part of the side yard, that I guess now is considered in the floodplain, you know, with the new flood zoning that happened a number of months ago. And he wants to replace that with an 8 by 14 foot shed. It's previously disturbed, and he also wants to move it upland about a foot or two, you know, which is the right direction away from the wetlands. Looks fairly straightforward. I think or Michael and Bill, do you want to make, Mike, you
Yeah, I
want to make
made
some
the
comments?
site visit. Yeah, exactly what you said. They're improving or expanding the shed by 2 feet. So instead of 8 by 12, it'll be 8 by 14. Previously disturbed land, they're essentially just pivoting it on the same spot. The shed's been there since before Jeff Nelson purchased the property. So it seems pretty straightforward to me.
Yeah, seems pretty straightforward to me, too. The only wrinkle is, and I guess this will be covered by order of conditions, where he has to seek all appropriate permits. There's a comment from the building commissioner that he has to get the building permit done for this. And there's some narrative around anchoring the shed, a potential request for flood vents. I'm not sure the shed would need flood vents. It is in a lower section of the yard, but that's outside of our jurisdiction, and we tend to stay in our swim lanes in this commission. So I would leave that in the special conditions for him to, you know, seek all the
Yeah, we do that. That's
all the
right.
permits that
Yeah,
he would need.
on an RDA, we can take care of that, Rick. So I think Mike's gonna read that off to you.
The only thing that we could request is, you know, maybe putting some conservation markers along that
Yep.
border on the property, maybe
Yeah.
3 or 4 conservation markers. We give them to him and give him some guidance on where to put them, and
Yep.
then he's all set.
I was
So-
thinking 4 markers with guidance from myself or Bill,
Yep.
just along kind of the perimeter of his existing yard.
Yep, so I make a motion that we close the hearing. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Then we will move forward to this with a positive number 5 for the bylaw and a negative number 2 with special conditions that I think Michael will probably share.
Yep. The special conditions will be ensure best management practices are followed before commencing work, obtain all pertinent permits, including permits from the building department, post 4 permanent conservation markers between 30 to 40 inches above the ground via instruction by the conservation administrator or myself, and seek the conservation administrator or agent for guidance on conservation permits for any work beyond the approved work activities and location of the conservation markers.
Good, thank you. Yeah, just one last observation comment. This is one of the first properties, or one of the first homeowners I visited with, that when their flood maps were redrawn, is, you know, it still has a small mortgage on the home, and he's been required to pay like $1,500 a month of flood insurance, which he's pretty upset about. I know there are people paying a lot more than that, but it sure felt like I was in the uplands when I was there, you know, but it just didn't seem right, but that's what they did.
Wow.
Some of these people have unique situations where it might be an AE9, they have 10 and 11 and 12 on their property, those parts could come out, you know, but they have to get, they have to go through the proper process to do that, and they should seek help from the building department and planning department if they're candidates for that. So that's really beyond our lane, but it's a good point at the same time. Who's the second on that, please? Have you done that yet?
I had
I
Craig.
was
Joe and I tied, I'm
Yeah.
giving it to Joe.
I was gonna give it to Art, so you can pick.
That means it goes
I'm
to
gonna
Susan. Okay.
Giving it to
That's
Joe.
right.
Joe Ring, all right, and you got a 6-0. You can take your vote, your final vote there, Rick? You take a vote?
I did.
Okay, I missed it, all right. All right,
It was
too
unanimous.
quick for me.
Okay, next up is 208 Foster Ave, a new hearing. In compliance with the regulations of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and Code of the Town of Marshfield, Chapter 294, Wetlands Protection, a public hearing will be held by the Marshfield Conservation Commission on Wednesday, June 15th, 2022, to consider the notice of intent filed by John and Maria Zablocki at 280 Foster Ave, and the hearing officer is Commissioner Karen.
All right, hang on a second.
So, I understand the administrative requirements have all been met, and we do have a DEP number just in time.
Yes.
So this is a new NOI for the replacement of existing walkways around the home with pervious materials, some driveway maintenance, which consists of adding some gravel to the existing gravel driveway, and a 15 by 15 addition of a pervious patio. Properties located within Barrier Beach, coastal dune, land subject to coastal storm flowage with a VE 19. Is there anybody here on Zoom or in the room that's presenting this project? Oh,
Could you give us your name for the record
are you Mr.
and your address, please?
My address is 4 Enchanted Lane, Plymouth, Mass.
What's the address?
It's 4 Enchanted Lane,
Right, Enchanted, okay.
Plymouth, Massachusetts.
Okay.
Feel free to elaborate on your project and describe it if you'd
All
like to.
right, so I'm brand new at this.
No,
so
that's all right. I mean,
so
I just
bear
gave,
with me.
I'm gonna
I
also
gave an
get you your-
overview, but if you would like to add more to describe the project.
Yeah, basically, it's just, I was contacted by the Zablockies to upgrade their existing walkways, and they have a very small yard from their house to the seawall, and it's real hard to actually entertain the family and company and all that. It's a summer house, and they'd like to add a 15 by 15 patio, and I told them, you know, let's go about it right, and we've been in touch with Bill, and just basically trying to figure out how to go about it, get it done for them.
All right, I'll show a couple pictures of this stupid thing, we just told you about properly. Okay, maybe I won't. And it's unstable, gotcha. All right, so we're having a bad time showing pictures. Let's see what I got here. Okay, finally. He put a lot of time and effort in this. His trade is to do the hardscape work and so on in general, and he has come forward and bravely done a NOI with the commission. This is what the conditions look like right now.
That's the drive.
That's the side on the left facing the ocean.
Left side of the house from the streets, this is the crushed stone driveway that we're gonna regrade and just add a little more crushed stone to it.
Right.
This is sort of the rear, sorry, I'd have to rotate it, which is right here.
The pictures are in order of kind of like doing a 360 around the property, so this is at the end of that driveway that you see. The proposed patio will be right in the area where the stairs are right now. So the 15 by 15 area right there, this is the existing walkway to their back door, which goes to a set of wooden stairs with the seawall. And this is the other side of the property.
He's also provided us with a cross-section,
Cross-section, right.
which I thought I saw over, yeah, we have that as well. So he's working with pervious materials.
Yes, and there's a cross-section of that in your packets, on the existing plan page, and you find those acceptable, we talked about the stone and the detail that's required for pervious, correct?
Yes.
All right.
Okay, great.
Michael, would you like to add any more? I know you've made a
Yeah.
site visit, and you've also talked to the.
I made the site visit on June 10th, and I see this as an overall improvement. Some of the materials used for walkways consisted of like brick and slate, so it'd be good to see some more modern and updated pervious materials on the property.
And I understand you also talked about future plantings, that there's, adjacent to the patio, there's just some gravel or
Correct.
packed soil, and potentially using some salt-tolerant grasses, and I understand you
Yeah.
discussed
I've been
that.
talking with the homeowner, and she wants to eventually, off the edge of the patio, along the back 3 feet against the seawall, she wanted to do some beach planting.
Natural.
Yep.
Great,
Basically something that kind of keeps the whole beach theme, but actually serves a purpose.
right, that will really help to say.
And she had asked me briefly about on the opposite side where the patio's gonna go, about actually putting in grass. And I told her that if she decides to go that road, I have a great guy that can help her follow the correct way.
Okay,
So,
right, okay. Any commissioners have any comments? Anyone else on Zoom or from the audience to discuss the project? Okay. Well, seeing no further comments, what I would like to do is make a motion to approve the project with special conditions. You can read those as you like.
Yeah,
Michael.
I'll go through the special
Some of them are
conditions.
standard, but there's a few.
Yeah, they're pretty standard, including before commencing the proposed work, register both sets of orders, town and state, with the Plymouth County Registry of Deeds and provide evidence of such. Post the Mass DEP sign and provide evidence to the Conservation Office. Obtain all subsequent permits, state, local, federal. Applicant shall observe 310 CMR 1005 requirements that no work shall commence until all applicable administrative appeal periods have elapsed. Per 780 CMR section 105.8, applicant shall notify the building official at least one business day before start of work and verify that all D1 conditions have been met prior to the commencement of work, and coordinate a pre-construction meeting with the conservation administrator or agent. During construction, ensure best management practices and building codes are followed, ensure erosion control is in place, and do not use hay. Any additional ground surfacing not shown on the plan noted in section A shall require Conservation Commission review. And post-construction, an elevation certificate shall be provided to the Conservation Department at the conclusion of the work described in the plan of record, and with the approval of the Conservation Administrator or agent, any erosion control shall be removed. Any additional ground surfacing not shown on the plan noted in section A, general info, shall require Conservation Commission review. And the option to plant native salt-tolerant herbaceous and shrub species is permitted. Seek guidance from Conservation Administrator or agent or qualified wetland scientists on the plant species options.
May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good luck with your project.
Okay, thank you. Nice job.
Good luck, Mike.
I appreciate it.
Well done there, Mike. Okay.
Okay, 0 Little's Lane, SE 422966. This is a continued hearing, and the hearing officer is Commissioner Carberry.
Okay. So you don't need to read the legal ad?
No, it's it was opened previously.
All right. So, this is for an extension of the pier, ramp, and float at David Armstrong's property at 0 Little's Lane. I missed my apologies for missing the site visit. I was, I think, in California for my real job.
Just a correction for the record, it's 64, I don't remember the zero, it's.
Came in, we just took, it happens, and That's what we have 0.
Okay.
It's got the right parcel number.
Gotcha. All right.
I did drive by yesterday, or 2 days ago, and I said, I don't know what other Little's Lane there is, but all the number, I was looking for 0, and I didn't find 0.
That's flat.
What's your name, sir?
David,
Address, please. What is your address?
what's that?
The address.
29 Little's Lane.
Gotcha. Thank you.
So Rick, do you want to summarize the project for us?
Absolutely. So we can pull the plan up in a second.
Yes, I got someone else there. Let me
So
get that.
essentially, we have an existing dock out here at 64 Little Lane, and we're proposing some new work, an extension of the existing dock. The purpose of the new work is to get the existing float into the required depth of water so it's useful during all tides. Currently, the existing gangway floats are only usable for a short window during the tide cycle, and it sits on the flat during the low tide. So, in order to get it out to the minimum depth required,
Yeah, flip it.
we need to extend the dock out 63 feet from the end of the existing dock. That's going to require 3 sets of green heart piles out there. In order to do that, they're approximately 20 feet apart, 3 sets of piles. It's a 4-foot wide pier. And what we're going to do is relocate the existing gangway that we have, the 3-foot by 30-foot aluminum gangway that's currently on the site, or is being used, and relocate that and the existing 10 by 20 float out to the new position. We worked with the homeowner and the harbor master to ensure that float is in the minimum depth requirements for the corners as it's shown. You can see the depths that I have for corners A, B, C, and D. We checked it on several different tides, but we ended up out there on a 0 tide with the harbor master, checked all that. So that's essentially what we're doing. We're extending the dock 63 feet, 3 sets of piles, reusing the existing gangway and float. You can also see there's some stabilizer beams that are going to be utilized to secure that float in the current, make sure it's nice and stable. They're pretty heavy-duty stabilizer beams that are going to be used to keep that into position, not relying on the gangway to hold that float in place. T-shaped system that we have there. We've done our very best to meet all of the regulations of the new 505 dock regulations. I think we've done the best we can with it. We had the site meeting that Bert was able to attend, and Mike and Harbor Master was there. We've also got review comments from the Harbor Master Division of Marine Fisheries. We have paid the shellfish fee. We calculated that. I believe it was like $811, but that was dropped off at the Harbor Master's office. And like I said, we've done our best to comply with all the regulations, and I'll answer any questions that you might have.
Okay.
Yeah, North River Commission also, thank you. It's already been approved by the North River.
They're on board? Okay.
Yes, and they were also at the site meeting.
Okay.
They requested once we finish the process with you folks, to just give them a copy of the revised plan.
Okay, all right. Administrators' comments? Is it Bill or
Yeah.
is it Michael?
That's me, I got it. So I shared some information with Rick. The project's got some history with regards to permitting with conservation. There's been kind of 3 segments so far. This will be the 4th one. SE 42 1577, that's sort of the path and the fence to get them down into the wooded area. SE 42-1724 provided the first walkway and part of the pier system, and then SE 42-2340 more recently provided some changes in the structure to realign the dock. And then this is the 4th segment. Let's see. I was looking at the ZBA's documentation, which I shared with Rick. There was a grant of special permit 05-08, and they included a special condition: no boat will be moored on dock or be moored or dock to deck. Okay. The May 10, 2011 grant of special permit from ZBA also 11-13 had a special condition to number 9, and the applicant the applicant shall comply with the order of conditions issued by the Marshfield Conservation Commission. This is presumed to reference SC 42-2340 that includes a special condition that only kayaks and canoes will be are intended to be used for this particular dock system. Then we had comments from the building commissioner. He has expressed some concerns about some of the railings and posts. He has said there's a couple deteriorating supports, but he had no structural deficiencies or deterioration in the pile support structure. He did say it was going to need a new ZBA permit also, so it'll require a modification to the special permit 11-13. He also needs a building permit. Under Chapter 505, I think the applicable performance standards would be number 1. There have been questions about properties like this that don't have the primary dwelling, and that's exactly what fits the criteria here. During the April 14, 2022 meeting on docks and piers, Article 4 of Chapter 505, that was reduced out because it is actually a ZBA function. So when Rick and Bill Finn worked on that to finalize it, they took it out. Town council made comments on that supported that. So it's really a ZBA function, and in the past they had considered that. The key one is no dock or pier shall extend further from the shore mean high water mark than a point equal to 1/2 the lot's water frontage measured as a straight line between the lot's front corners, which we'll get into next. And then the other key thing is getting the 30 inches. Currently where it is, it's got the 30 inches. You can see that points A, B, C, and D are all good. You've got A 50 inches, B 36, C 32, and D 48. Fine. However, I'm going to change this out real quick, Rick. All right, bear with me. Stop the share. See if I can make something go smooth real fast here. All righty. Get out of here. Okay, the first thing I would like to show you is and I think it's agreement with what Rick has got on his plan. He's got, this shows that this distance here, see the cursor I'm moving? All right, is 106.7. Rick had about 10 feet plus or minus, so it's pretty close. So in other words, half based upon E1 would be 55 max, 53. All right, so now we have to do the net, how much they're adding, and then the thing is, where do we start? And you're supposed to be starting from the shoreline.
Mean high water.
Mean high water, okay. So we're gonna need a little help on that one, just to reduce that down also. So bear with me as I get the next thing. Where do we go now? Yeah. All right. I had 37, and that might not be 100% accurate because we're using a website here to kind of estimate. So this really.
I've done that. I have some numbers for that if you're interested.
Here, would you show it, then you can kind of counter it. So this is 37.4 approximately, but that's the shoreline. The mean high water is going to be further out, so it's probably closer to 30, maybe 29 feet. I think you get the idea. There's an existing structure that's going to be qualifying for the distance of the 53 or 55. All right, so we have that, and then okay, so then we're going to go here one more time, show one more screen. And so when we take a look at Rick's plan here, and you net out everything that's involved here, you've got 63 here. From here to the float brings you out to 98. If you come up to mean high water, you're approximately 106, and that's beyond the current location. That was the current location there, Rick, am I right?
That's correct.
Okay, so wherever the mean high water is, which is right around.
Right there, yeah.
Right there.
Zoom in a little bit, you
So
can see
maybe
that.
we're talking about, maybe 18 feet out from the mean high water, not 37. So you have 18 feet, so you've got, to get to 55 or 53, you've got 35 inches or 35 feet or 37 feet ballpark. But we're out here, way out at 96 and 108. All right, I'll go back to your plan now that I've just done that show and tell, so we can get the plan up and running. And then we'll work our way backwards from there. All right, so bear with me as I get rid of that. Go on the plans. Okay, that's nice. All right. Share a view. Okay. So do you want me to go up to the
This is fine, I mean, so,
or do you like the other one up here?
I can use the plan view, that's, so, it wasn't exactly clear to me on how much of the, it talks about the dock up here, I wasn't sure if it included the gangway and the float in that distance. But yes, 110 feet of frontage, that would be 55 feet from the mean high water to that heavy blue line. So to the end of the pier, which I'm considering the pier as a wooden walkway, we do need to go out an additional 8 feet beyond the 55 feet that would be allowed. But we had to do that to get to the minimum depth requirement that's stated in
E21,
six.
yeah,
You know,
E21.
notwithstanding the other provisions, no longer than is necessary to attain the minimum depth, which is exactly what we did. So I guess you have to juggle a couple of them. We had to get to the minimum depth, so it is a little bit longer than the 55 feet allowed. I think it's about 8 feet longer to the end of the wooden structure, and then of course you got the gangway and the float. So if we include that, then we'd be closer to Bill's number, but still, that is the minimum length we could get to those depths, and that's why it's placed there.
Everything I'm saying is an estimate. I take Rick's numbers as he kind of gets this argument, he's kind of going back and forth, argument meaning a debating, deliberating concept.
I felt the minimum depth requirement was the most important.
Yeah, you had to go for it.
Flat.
That's a deal breaker, you know that.
Sure. So that's how we handled that. We just did the best we could with it. And what was the second?
That was the condition there. I mean, I think the other portion of that, not to distract, was the 4-to-1. I think you're probably going to be okay out that, if you can get out that far, but the question is the E1 no dock or pier shall extend more than 50% out? That's the key thing right now for you guys. The ZBA would handle the other item that was the essence of the E1, which was, it's not got a primary structure on it, so that's a ZBA function. You guys also probably haven't applied to them yet, so we're supposed to get, apply for all obtainable permits, so you can see we're getting a continuation, I think. This will give you time to digest this a little bit.
We have met with the zoning officer on the site, reviewing the project, haven't made an official application, but I did speak to him about
I know you made progress.
altering the permit, modifying the existing special permit in order to do it. We didn't specify any issues other than one Bill stated about some planking and so forth on the existing pier, and some supports that need to be replaced that we agreed with the homeowner, which is all going to take place. That'll all be brought up to code for sure.
Okay. I think from my perspective, docks are all about performance standards, and the performance standards have been updated over the past couple of years, 2 different times, with the last time being April this year and voted on March 7th. And one of the hardened performance standards was making sure that we have support from the harbor master, safety, navigation, those sorts of things. And Mike wrote a response after the site visit. There's plenty of water out there. There's 33 inches inland, 36 inches at another corner, and it's even deeper than that at the outward corners of the dock, so that's not a problem. Didn't have a navigational concern. There's a swim platform that's close, I would suspect that that may need to get moved, but that's a 10A permit that the harbor master controls. Is that David's swim platform? Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
so that's gotta be moved.
Okay. And you already talked about the shellfish stuff, but there's two performance standards that are newer that are kind of speed bumps at this point. You know, one is, and this is one that was just added, kind of in harmony with many of the other North Shore or South Shore towns that have high velocity flowing rivers associated with them. And the E1 is that, you know, no dock or pier, and I think the intent of that is the pier, the gangway, and the float are not to extend any more than 50% of the lineal frontage you have on the resource area. So if there's 106 feet there, that would say that we would have 53 feet to go out if we wanted to be in compliance with it.
And then Rick's got 110, so 55 to your point, Rick.
Right, right. So that's a speed bump. The other thing that the harbor master put in that ended up in performance standards is this 4-to-1 setback situation, which is a little confusing. From the edge of the navigable channel at mean low water, you measure the depth, and whatever that number is, let's say it's 10 feet. He wants a 4 times setback for the vessel on a float from that point. So if you have a 10-foot depth at the edge of the navigable channel, that would be times 4, 40 feet. That means you're going to have 40 feet between there and the outward side of any vessel, boat that might be on the float. So I don't know what that number is. You may have plenty of room. I think we need to find that out. I don't know if we can figure that out tonight. That would be great, so we can move this along. We may not have that.
I interpreted the reg a little different, and I'm sure you're right, Rick. I thought they were talking about the width of the channel at mean low water, which is about 180 feet. So
There's another performance standard that talks about this. This is the harbor master's 4-to-1 setback that we adopted.
Right.
The good thing about this project is we've got a large float sitting on the mud, sitting on the resource area. You know, that's not allowed anymore, you know, and all future projects. There's a lot of grandfathered floats around town that sit like that. That was allowed for many, many, many years. There's even some illegal docks out there sitting on the mud at low tide. The benefit of the project, not only for the benefit of the Armstrong family to have, you know, water around a float so he can use boats and so forth. Benefit for the Armstrong family and a benefit kind of for the resource areas. So I think a hinge piece of information that we don't have tonight is you know, what's that 4-to-1 number? If we pass that 4-to-1 number or are really close, you know, I can't speak for the rest of the commission, but a mitigating trade float off the mud in exchange for a few feet going out for deep water may be something that we could consider. You know, we generally like to try to approve projects and help homeowners get their enjoy the resource areas of the land they have. So I think we need to get that, Rick. And the river's pretty wide over there, so I would suspect it's probably not an issue. But I've been by there a million times, but I don't know that I can say. But and it's, you know, when we wrote these words with the harbor master, we struggled over with Mr. Finn as well. We struggled over trying to define this specifically so people could understand it. And so again, it's the edge of the navigable channel. What's that depth at the 0 low tide? And then multiply that depth by 4, and that's as close as the outside of the vessel is allowed to be. That's just so boats have room to navigate and turn and are far enough away from the channel, because a lot of boats or even some floats and things do swing. So I think we need to find that out. And then, as Bill pointed out, You know, I think you've got a ZBA thing to sort out with them. You know, over the thing that I read said that the last order of conditions from ZBA said no structure. So that's a ZBA issue that we don't have jurisdiction over.
Well, it seemed to be evolving. First it said, you know, it said no ramp or float in 2005, and then in 2011, it said rely on the Concom, and the Concom had said canoes and kayaks.
Yeah.
So, you know, who knows what the third thing's gonna be.
That project.
But
at
it's
that
been all
time.
segmentized, and you guys know this,
Right. Yep.
on all departments.
So commissioners, do you have thoughts, feelings, questions?
I'm interested in how we resolve the distance from the mean high water, because the harbor master was pretty fixed to the 2 points of the distance out from the land and the 4-to-1 setback when we were doing rules. And if we're supposed to be 55 and it's 100, that seems like a matter of interest to him, based on our discussions in the harbor master's office. He was pretty energetic about these two subjects, so.
Well, I know, we talked a lot about triangulating
Yeah.
water depth with distance out, with distance away from the navigable channel, was kind of his.
Have we got clear language on how to calculate that 4-to-1?
Yeah,
It's right in there.
it's right in.
It is.
It was processed with Bob's language.
I mean, I think I was there at that low, and, yep. River's pretty wide there.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, one of the reasons for changing the regs was the proliferation of new docks we're seeing. You know, where this one is already existing, I think that partially mitigates this, and also the fact that we're getting a legal float that's in the mud now on stops. We're getting it out into the water, so we're getting that off of the resource area.
Yeah.
You know, as you said, Rick.
Yeah. I mean, my suggestion would be potentially continue, find out what that measurement is to make, you know, the 4-to-1, and then come back and have this discussion, would be what I would suggest we do.
I just wanted to say this, if it's okay.
Yeah, go ahead, Phil.
On the performance standards, what you do at one, you gotta kind of continue to do. You can't be selective and capricious in any way on the performance standards. So if you're gonna do this, there has to be mitigation. If you think it's adequate just to take the one that's on the mud right now off by pushing it out, that's gonna become the standard. So there may need to be more mitigation. I don't know what that'd be. So think about it, because that's a lot of distance. You're doubling what you're allowing. He's going to be
No,
run 50%, it's 100%.
Yeah, I realize that. I mean,
Because it's equal to the 106, 110.
I mean, we wouldn't want to be prescriptive about what other mitigation you could offer, but that's typically if we're going to make some sort of an exception, usually mitigation is the lubricant, you know, for some of this. And typically, if we're going to do variances and so forth, you know, we want to see, you know, clear and convincing evidence of why we would do this. But to Bert's point, you know, it's not a proliferation of another dock. It's just it's modifying an existing dock, and it's getting that float out of the mud, which is good for the resource areas, which is in particular what our major charter is around the performance standards and so forth. But I think I would challenge you guys to consider other ways that you might want to come back and consider other sorts of mitigation that might be possible on the property.
So certainly look at that. I know at the site meeting and working with the harbor master, was quite comfortable that it was good for navigation. It wasn't going to impede anything inboard of the existing piers that were out there.
Yeah.
I understand what you're asking about the 4-to-1.
Yeah.
I didn't specifically ask him that when we were at the site meeting, but made it very clear that he thought it was
Yeah, well,
in a great spot.
that performance standard and condition was actually created and written and documented and voted and approved after that site visit. We had a meeting with Dave Hill and a smaller contingent of the conservation commissioners. Dave Hill is a DEP guy, that was, you know, Dave. He came out of retirement and drove over to sit down while we noodled over, you know, performance standard changes. We had help from Bill Finn.
These guys almost rolled over when I got them to come to the meeting.
And, you know, so some of the performance standards that were put back in are make it a little more selective to get peers, trying to make sure that we're somewhat responsible about dock proliferation and damage, cumulative adverse effects to the resource areas, balanced against homeowners enjoying their property in resource areas. That's what I would propose we do.
You know that dock that Dave gave us? Yeah, I mean, that dock guidance that Dave Hill gave us.
Yeah.
Maybe that's something that would help him out with the mitigation, you know?
Yes, there's a research article that was written by some staff at DEP that talks about northeastern shores and estuaries, riverfronts, and best management practices in terms of docks and piers and piles and structure and all this sort of thing. It was really, really very, very well done. And they talk a lot in there about mitigation. So there are some hints in there about things that you might want to talk about, consider doing. My last act, I'll make sure you get that article.
That's fair.
Gonna delegate it to me.
I could do that, Bill. How does that sound, Rick and David?
Do you guys have any examples of mitigation you've done previously?
So there's one in here, E15, Rick and Dave, Mr. Armstrong it is, that's a 4-to-1, so on the plants. And we can find some weak spots to take a look at that, maybe get those back on track. This is going on all over the place. A healthy salt marsh, everybody is very happy about. It helps with flood issues, it keeps the animals healthy, the marine animals, and that could potentially be there as well. And
I'll read that to you, Dave. You ready? It's E15. It says, during the dock system construction, maintenance, or operational phase, any damage to any resource area vegetation shall be replicated at a ratio of up to 4-to-1 at the discretion of the commission. When such replication is deemed necessary, a restoration planting plan shall be submitted to the commission for review. The plan shall be prepared by a qualified consultant approved by the commission. The plan, the succession requirements, implementation, and the monitoring shall adhere to the expectations of the commission. So,
courtesy of Joe Pesovich, of all people, he did a great job.
yeah. I mean, it doesn't specifically say plant eelgrass, but that could be a mitigation. You
No
could
palm trees,
reflourish
no
an area
swamp
that's
deserts.
sparse with eelgrass.
Yes, something to block this would create.
So that gives then that changes the equation.
It could be a wildlife
Yeah.
situation for firms and.
You pick up the interest, to your point, you pick up the interest under the state, and you pick up the values under the town. So by doing that, so then it changed the equation of this. The structure trades off for something that's long-lasting and provides the essence of this, which is wetland values, wetlands interests, performance standards.
And that 4-to-1 ratio is based on the portion that you're deficient on?
No, it's clearly written up as a formula here. It's when you read it, it takes a little navigating through it, but you could start plugging in the numbers that you find, and then Rick could calculate it, and then you know what you need. You could show that on here, and it looks like you'd probably be adequate. That is starting to be a tough bend, as you know, but obviously Mike hasn't had a tremendous issue with it based on his comments. What Rick said, and he knows him well, we're going to lose that relationship soon. So you just need to calculate it. Clear and convincing information, proper mitigation. Perhaps this is a winner, but you have challenges to overcome.
Rick, have we ever accepted additional shellfish mitigation money as
We haven't, but we certainly could consider that.
Yeah.
Thanks for bringing that up, Craig. I just did want to state that we intentionally overpaid the shellfish fee. We had already paid the shellfish fee for the existing gangway and float that were there, back when they were against the shore, so we had paid for that part. And the harbor master said just to do the area beyond the pier, the part we had already paid for the float to the end of the new. But we included the whole 4-foot by 63-foot length of it, even though a portion of it we'd already.
Okay.
So we knew that, but we wanted to make sure we recovered for sure.
Maybe in the memo on the revisions, you could knock out, what the mitigation are, not clouding, but, making it pretty clear and convincing.
Yeah, the E1 performance standard that has been adopted by most of the other coastal towns that we did research on is primarily put in there because towns are trying to deal with dock proliferation. So they don't want somebody with a 10-foot waterfront property, or maybe an easement that they get from a friendly neighbor, putting a 200-foot pier, gangway and float out there, right? So that's one way to, try to manage that.
Sure. I've been staring at this 4-to-1 thing, and could you state again, Rick, how the depth, because I think you made that, but tell me again exactly how you interpret that.
So, the edge of the navigable channel,
Yep, at zero tide.
at zero tide, what is that depth?
0.
No. At low tide, it's not zero.
Right.
You're at the edge of the navigable channel, in the middle of the river. Not the middle of the channel, but at the
Edge of the water at 0 tide.
Is it zero?
That's what it says.
He's saying at the zero tide,
That is-
the navigable
the
channel
depth at
from,
0 tide, so the edge of the water, okay. I follow.
Whatever that depth is, times 4, the outward side of that vessel, if there's a vessel there,
Right.
that's what that distance
Figure
means.
the width of the boat. Let's say it was 0. You'd have to have 4 feet of water on the outboard side of the boat. Just an example, or I'm misinterpreting that.
Should I draw something?
I'll go up here and, so I'll zoom out and then you can kind of play with this a little bit. So, you've got your system here. The channel is going to be, here's the mean low okay, but at 0, it might be further down. So, long story short, the channel is right around in this area in here in general.
If you've
No,
got,
that mean low water is the edge of the channel. Mean low water is the edge of the water at that point, at mean low tide.
yeah, but
zero
but
tide.
mean low water, your float is floating.
That's correct.
Right.
That's why we need 4 times the depth
Right.
of that elevation at the outside of the boat.
So, let's assume the edge of the channel is here, all right? Low tide, what's the depth of the water here? It's probably 3 or 4 feet, I would guess,
At low tide?
low tide.
The edge of the channel is inboard of the float.
Where your finger is at
Middle of the
at a
river.
0 tide is probably 12 feet deep.
Yeah.
So that's 12 feet deep here?
Yeah, because if you bring your finger all the way to the corner where D is,
Yeah.
it's 48 inches at low.
Yeah, so this,
Right.
so if that's the case, you're probably gonna be okay.
Well, that's the center of the channel.
I would,
The edge of the channel is land side of it, right?
Yeah, well, you're just inside the edge of the channel, there's gonna be water there.
Sure.
Because if at low tide, there's water here, there's certainly water in here.
Oh, sure.
So
It's
let's say,
down in there.
let's say it's 15 feet
yeah.
times 4 is 60, so you got 60 feet.
Oh, how far out you have to get to achieve 4 times?
He wants 4 times, so the edge of the boat that's here,
Yeah.
so this would need to be 60 feet, which you probably do have over there.
That's a, okay.
I think from the channel's edge blows you
Talking
up,
about the water depth. you shall be 4 times the water depth at the outside of the boat,
Right.
not a distance. We'll clarify.
Whatever the depth is,
Yeah.
times 4,
Okay.
that calculation in feet.
All right.
Yeah, it took all of us,
Yeah,
even Dave Hill, a
that's
little while to
reading
understand
it.
this when Mike was advocating for
Did
this.
Dave establish that?
He was in the room when we did all this. Dave, Mike, Bill, myself.
Yeah, he asked for a retake on it like you guys did too, so it happens. And then it got processed. I'm just thinking from the channel's edge is the killer.
Basically, deeper
It confuses,
channels
and I gotta
have
think
bigger
about that too.
vessels, so you need more room.
I hear what you're saying though, interpretations.
I'm clear.
You think it's zero?
Right?
You get zero every time? No, I don't think
Yes.
so.
On the rowing boat, it's over 8 feet.
Yeah, it's a
The
very
reason-
narrow boat.
So
It's
the-
a canoe. Yeah.
So the reason for the zero is because we're trying to get the lowest tide possible to get all the conditions and have that be the fixed point.
Sure.
Not that you should say 4 times 0 is 0. And that's not what the goal of that was. If it's got a problem, it needs to get tweaked.
We will absolutely get that, whatever that is, for sure.
So should I make a motion to continue to, how much time do you need to, 2 weeks?
Next hearing.
Next hearing, which is what, Bill? Which is, July?
It's gonna be July 6th.
Well, are you on with the ZBA?
We do not have a hearing scheduled for the ZBA.
We're gonna need that.
So,
We can make the application to them prior to
That's
that.
all you need. It would
Yeah.
be, I don't think they can give you an opinion, but I, for one, would like to know what they're gonna do about the fact that there's no, pertinent structure. Now, I know they got docks out here and they've iteratively moved forward. I'd just like to know.
I don't see that in
Yes.
regulations at all. That you have to have a structure.
I have an idea, David. Free Armstrong PVC fencing for the fish in the.
All right, there's some case law about boardwalks and structures without the benefit of a property structure,
Yeah.
I think.
So, yeah, absolutely. We can do that with ZBA. We'll work with them. We'll work on this number that we're looking for, make sure that we're good.
Right, you wanna go-
Mitigation.
You want to go July 6th?
Yes.
Okay. So I make a motion that we continue to July 6th, looking for that data that we talked about. Do I have a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
And Rick, I've always enjoyed working with you. And you've always been very fair and you'll be missed.
All right.
Is
Thank
this
you.
your last evening here?
My last evening here.
Oh, congratulations, I think.
Nothing lasts forever.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
See you later,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Director. Thank you.
Okay. On to COCs and extensions. The first being SE 42, 1763 at 459 Highland Street. We have had no submittals, so I move that we vote to table to July 6th and until the after-the-fact NOI is submitted and approved. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. SE 42, 1917, 13 South Street.
First one is applicable.
Once again, we did not have a response from the applicant's attorney. With the additional information requested, so I move that we continue to the next public meeting of July 6th, 2022, pending receipt of the additional information requested by Administrator Grafton. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Next up, SE 42, 2369, 21 Stony Brook Road.
This one's a go, and it's the second one that Mike had. They will provide us an updated as-built on, well, by 12 noon on June 17th. Dana Altobello will be your RPE on that, so that's accurate.
Okay, so we can. Okay, so I move that we approve a complete certificate of compliance with ongoing conditions as follows. The 7 permanent conservation markers inscribed with red and white Marshfield wetland resource, no disturbance, on 4x4 rot-resistant pressure-treated cedar or equivalent posts depicted on the final approved partial as-built plan dated June.
Strike the partial, he's gonna fix it. He's gonna fix
On the
that.
final approved as-built plan dated June 17th, 2022, prepared by Merrill Engineers and Landscape Surveyors, signed and stamped by Dana Altabello, RPE, are to remain posted in the field in perpetuity. Damaged or decayed conservation posts and markers shall be replaced. Any activity such as mowing, fill, or vegetative management is prohibited beyond the conservation markers. This condition remains in perpetuity. May I have a second?
Second.
Susan.
All in favor? Okay,
Got what we needed. We did, we got.
we got what we needed
Yeah,
here?
what we needed was, Bert and I met with Greg Morris to tell him what he needed on this, and also tell him what he needed on the other permit. And on this one, they needed to file the true attest of the recorded orders of conditions, and they got that done. So this is good to go, and we can close out the original orders now and the amended orders with one COC. Bert and I, after talking to them, decided that it would be a good idea for the commission to consider accepting the as-built plan for this septic system, which was also approved by the Board of Health years ago. That seems to make sense. However, a new plan will need to come forward for the ramp to close out two other permits. That'll be handled separately.
Okay. You good with that, Bert? You were there? Okay. In that case, I move that we vote to approve a complete certificate of compliance for, what is the number? SE 422426. May I have a second?
Second.
Bird.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, SC 42, 2773. We have insufficient information, so I move that we vote to table this until July 6th, 2020. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Who's at second, Joe?
Rick.
Rick gets it.
Okay, Rick gets it.
Thanks, Joe.
Okay, SE 42, 2875, 77 Everson Road. I move that we vote to approve a complete certificate of compliance.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Second by who?
Joe?
Joe.
Sorry, I'm reading things.
And lastly, we need
I note that Commissioner
Commissioner
Loggy
Loggy
is
to
recused.
recuse.
Thank you. Sure.
And we have SE 2963.
SC 42, 2963 for the record.
I vote that we, I move that we vote to approve a certificate of compliance with ongoing conditions as follows. The snow fence and temporary fire pit are approved in perpetuity on the accredited land associated with the subject site, 14 East Street, Marshfield, MA, parcel ID number M050805. Hand removal of invasive plants is permitted in perpetuity to promote the growth of native coastal vegetation. The two permanent conservation markers inscribed with red and white Marshfield wetland resource, no disturbance, on 4x4 rot-resistant pressure-treated cedar or equivalent posts depicted on the as-built plan dated May 12, 2022, prepared by Stenbeck and Taylor, signed and stamped by Richard Servant, PLS, are to remain in perpetuity. Damaged or decayed conservation posts and markers shall be replaced. Any activity such as mowing, fill, or vegetative management is prohibited beyond the conservation markers. This condition remains in perpetuity. May I have a second?
Second.
Joe.
All in favor? Aye.
Let me grab him and we'll keep going. What's the next thing? Oh, that enforcement order deal, yeah.
Okay, we are now on to the enforcement order on 46 Preston Terrace.
When that Commissioner Leahy is returning.
The anvil has been lifted from you. Okay, enforcement orders. Bill, do you want to?
Sure. And I got Attorney Weishert here, and I have the Mahaneys and their daughter, Mary Ellen Weeks. Just quick summary. We had a meeting on June 9th with the Mahaneys and Mary Ellen Weeks, their daughter, to discuss the enforcement order and the restoration plan. They started working with Morris Engineering. I set a deadline on Monday the 13th. There might have been some confusion in the language. We didn't receive it till late the 14th. It gave no time for the town engineer to review it. I asked him to look at it. He said he needs calculations to determine whether or not the suggested, I'll get this up here, suggested plan of restoration would be workable or not. Let's see if I got this here. Bear with me. Too many things. All right. Didn't get it in here somehow. Okay. We are going to, there it is. Okay, pray it opens up quickly. There you go. Okay. Error caused. Bear with me. That's some duplication going on here. Okay, it won't open the plan, isn't that nice? Okay, so, yeah, won't open the plan. We'll figure out how to duplicate this next time. The plan basically calls for, and you've seen it, it calls for a swale along the Mahaney part of the property, which is now owned by Lowry. It's reverse L-shaped. There's a crushed stone trench drain is what it is. It's 2.5 feet by 2.5 feet. It's got geotextile, etc. But the town engineer wants to, before he puts any comments on it, he wants calculations. There's no way to get that at this point in time. The resource area appears to be down gradient of the area which triggered the enforcement, but we don't have a plan until we have everything in one place. We also have a need to get some of the final things that the commission requires, and that includes our 25, 50, 75-foot setback. We need to get those calculations, and in addition, we also need to know the delineator of the coastal bank, the date of the coastal bank delineation, and that they use Mass DEP Policy 92-1. I'm sure it's all done, but we didn't get that, so in order to firm this up. So this is basically, close, but not all done. The engineer hasn't looked at it, and, just with these small changes, and getting a revised plan and comments in a timely manner instead of missing it, only giving us 24 hours. And then I can't get it till midday, the day of the hearing that we're having, to the engineer. That's not right. So I was thinking a more reasonable deadline for the revised plan with the additional information request from both me, hopefully that's the commission that approves, and from the town engineer. That would allow us to give final commentary on this, close out the plan. The plan closes out, and once that's done, and once the commission approves this, your delineation's in place, and, the directive can be either go forth and prosper, or you can find a rationale to continue to pursue the enforcement order. So I think just with a few tweaks here, providing commentary that allow the town engineer to close this out will solidify this. I talked about this with Alex, our town council, a little bit, and we thought this was the most effective way to go forward.
Are the Mahaney's on? Or Miss Weeks?
Yep, we're all here.
Hi. Okay. So what we need is the coastal bank delineator, the date of that, the reference to Mass DEP 92-1, the 20, 50, and 75-foot setbacks, and calculations for the crushed stone trench, all of which, as Bill pointed out, are probably easily done.
Correct. I was under the impression that the 25, 50, and 75 were on the plans, but I also am not sure of what I'm looking at when I'm looking at an engineer's plan, so I apologize for that.
So when you look at the plan, Mary Ellen, they're down gradient of the green coastal bank. So if you move back, that's 100 foot, okay? So they back off to 75, 50, 100. And then we want them to call out that they use 92-1. You can see on there that they used the riverfront. They used a elevation of 3.95, and that carried out, and that's how they got this. I've had other riverfront calculations. This is relatively accurate. I expected the 100-foot setback on the coastal bank to be higher up, so we just want to make sure that we're good. And the previous conservation administrator had written 4 enforcement orders, so let's just make sure we're good and we can end this. So having all our criteria is pretty important.
So we need the town engineer, Rod Procaccino, to look at the engineering of this trench.
Yeah, I think so.
And if Greg Morse can provide this information by Friday, June 24th.
It sounds like a reasonable time frame. I think that way, with holidays and
then
everything, we
Rod
can make it. Yeah.
Can look at his portion of it.
And hopefully he's not having vacation or anything, and we can get this done earlier.
And that should be, is Mr. O'Leary, are you on here?
Yes, I am.
Have you seen any of this proposal, or probably not?
I have seen nothing, and I'd like to see a copy of it and have a time to review it with my attorney.
That seems.
When can I get a copy of that, Bill?
Tonight.
We can get that to you right away.
I was trying to show it, but the thing won't load. I'll try again, but just frustrating.
So we will, going forward, we will provide this plan to Mr. O'Leary, and the Mahaneys will go back to Morse and get these final details put on the plan. That all looks pretty straightforward. And Friday, June 24th is what, 2 week and a half?
Yeah.
So I don't think Morse Engineering should have a problem getting that done.
I might have it. Nice.
Can you get it up
I would
there?
like to see
Yeah,
it.
I think I might have it. Hang on one second. Bear with me. Let's see if I can get the. Oh, it's loaded. I figured out a way. All right, so we lucked out. I think it's coming. All right, great. Okay. All right, so I guess I can drive a little bit. I'll move this thing. All righty, wouldn't that be nice? Okay, great. So I'm using this. Okay, so what's going on is your house is over here, Mr. O'Leary. See that?
Yes.
Okay. This is the proposed swale right here. This is the detail over here. I don't want to go in it move. Okay, I can go in a little further on that, and then, all right, we'll kind of move you. You can see there's detail here about the crushed stone. I tried to run this by the town engineer, but just didn't have adequate time. Everybody's busy, post-COVID, etc. Some of the missing items are the 75, the 25, the 70, the 50, the 25, and then the actual delineation where it breaks. And then there's going to be a statement on it that says Mass DEP 92-1. That gives validity to it. Having an engineer behind it, that's important. In the case of the 200-foot riverfront, they used and called out the elevation here. You can see that. But this is the key that they're looking at to potentially take the pressure off of you. And it is upgradient of the resource areas. So at the end of the day, there could be the actual implementation might be beyond the scope of the capacity for the Concom to resolve. But we do need to get this restoration plan and get it right, so the commission then can vote on it and then issue a dissolution letter. That's the goal. And then this could be a great solution. And right now, it's debatable whether or not that'll work.
So when will the final plan be available to the town?
We're trying for the 24th according to the chair's direction. And that
When
seems...
will I say, so I won't get a copy of it until the 24th?
Yeah, I would say everybody should follow up with Mike Seeley and me on the 24th to get this by 12 noon. The town hall closes at 12:30, and we'll send out the directive to the Weeks, Mrs. Weeks, the Mahaneys, Chair Hannafin, and the town council, and maybe even town administrator. Just get this going.
You'll give him this plan for the time being, right?
Yeah, that's gonna happen
Because we don't
tonight.
anticipate much change from this.
Right, no, it's pretty simple what's
Well,
gonna change.
The thing that's gonna change is maybe that reverse L. I don't know what Rod's gonna say, but he'll probably give comments. And then that will give some confidence that there's a solution, because they've been struggling with this for a while, and they've tried things, it didn't work, and then this may work. And it looks like, if you look at it, it looks like it would capture any water running off that area. But I'm not certain, so it might get wider, it might change, I don't know. So I'll let an engineer figure that out.
We're not engineers, so we can't
Exactly.
speculate on that, but,
I agree.
yeah, we have minor changes that need to be put on this plan, and we need the town engineer, Mr.
Right.
Procaccino, to
Right,
chime in, and,
right.
okay.
And then that gives the commission closure on the document that they can then vote on, and then they could take all their appropriate actions, which would probably move right to a dissolution letter at that point.
So, does anyone else have any comments or questions, or, in that case, I move that we vote to direct the Mahane.
How long am I gonna have to review this?
Well, here's what's gonna happen. The chair is suggesting, is that okay?
Yeah,
The chair is suggesting June 24th for the due date. So we'll get that.
you will have, Bill will forward this to you immediately.
Right.
I appreciate that, but I would like to have the final document in my possession so a lawyer and a PE can look at this from my aspect.
Okay, fair enough.
Final document will be here by the 24th, but I would suggest that the changes that are going to be put on here are extremely minor, and if you wanted to get a head start with your attorney, they could certainly work from this plan.
Right. Yeah, it probably won't change a whole lot, Mr. O'Leary, and if it does at all. And, you know, maybe we should have a deadline on your response too of the following Friday. So maybe Mr. O'Leary gets it on the 24th, and then he should respond the following Friday, which I think it's July 1st, I believe. I think it is. Can you do that, you think, Mr. O'Leary, if we get that to you tonight?
Sure.
So I did tell the Mahaneys that cooperation might really help. I've told you that too, so to the extent that that can happen, that's great. This thing is moving rapidly towards closure.
Appreciate all your help.
Okay, wonderful.
I just have one question, I'm sorry,
No
Bill.
problem.
First of all, I appreciate, taking the time and answering all my questions this past
Absolutely.
week. But second of all, I did not have time to write down everything that the chair asked, so I understand the minutes will be online?
Yeah,
so I
they
can
take a
just
little time.
Okay.
No, if you have any questions,
Contact
Bill,
me.
Right.
contact
Okay.
Bill,
I'm gonna
yes.
send you an email tonight I'm gonna send Mr. O'Leary an email tonight. I'll give you both my cell phone. He's got it. I think the Mahaneys have it, your parents. I'll give it to you.
Yep.
And then you'll have it. And then feel free to reach me. We want this 20-year endeavor close out quickly for the satisfaction of you, the Lowrys, and Mr. O'Leary.
I appreciate that, and I do want to let you know that I did speak with Mr. Lauer earlier this evening,
Okay, great.
and you know he's very appreciative of my parents saying even though the sale went through, they want to rectify this and
Great.
get it shut down. So
That brings confidence to the
it-
table. Thank you for your diplomacy.
Thank you. That's good to know.
All right.
All right, so I move that we vote to direct the Mahaneys to revise the restoration plan to include the coastal bank delineator, the delineator date, reference to Mass DEP 92-1, and add the 25, 50, and 75-foot setbacks, and provide the calculations for the crushed stone trench by 12 noon on Friday, June 24th. May I have a second?
Second.
Joe.
All in favor? Aye.
Thanks, everybody, for cooperating and working together. That really is what we need. Thank you.
Look forward to closing
Yes,
this
the 6 should be
once
good.
and for all.
All righty then.
Thank you, everyone. All right, I move that we vote to close the Marshfield Conservation Commission meeting of June 15th, 2022. May I have a second?
Second.
That's Rick's, all right, all in favor? Aye.
All righty
Thank you,
then.
Rick.
Thanks, everybody. We're
pleasure.
gonna shut it off
Hold on a
now.
second.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Rick.